Hey everyone, and welcome to r/IDontWorkHereLady. Have you ever been mistaken for an employee? Well, all the people in these stories have. But for them, it has not ended easily. It has led to stories crazy enough for a subreddit of their own. Now, I haven't been on this sub in absolutely ages, so I'm excited to get into this first one by user/SanityDemise09. This one fits here, but the person didn't exactly pick me out as someone who worked there. But she still asked for help after being a jerk. I was at an Ace hardware store to buy some soil. This store is in a small shopping complex, so they have all their bags of soil and mulch in the parking lot across from their door. I'm waiting in line to pay for my soil, with about 15 to 20 other people also waiting to check out, with one cashier. She is obviously very busy and stressed. The whole store is packed and crazy busy. Karen comes in from outside with an obvious attitude and lays into the cashier. "I'm still waiting for someone to help me load my car with the stuff I've already paid for. You said someone would be out, and now I've been parked here blocking traffic, and you didn't send anyone. I want help now." Mind you, there are about 6 parking spots right by where the outside stuff is, so her sitting in her car blocking traffic is 100% her fault. Cashier is so polite and apologizes and reminds her that everyone is busy helping other customers and are aware that she still needs help, but she'll page someone again for her. Karen stomps out. I get through line, pay for my soil, grab my bag from the parking lot and toss it in my truck. Karen is still out there blocking traffic and has the nerve to ask me for help. "Excuse me, I only have 3 bags I need to load. Do you think you could help me get them in my car?" Oh really? Ha, Karen's about to have her day. I tell her, "Well, I'm capable of helping you, but based on how you just treated that poor girl at the cash register, I'm not willing to. I guess you're going to have to wait this one out." I wanted to lay into her just like she did the cashier, but I was polite and left it at a more of "I'm disappointed in you" moment. She scoffed and said, "Are you serious?" accompanied by an eye roll. "Yes, ma'am, as a heart attack. It'll give you some time to think about your treatment of others." Yeah, damn, nice little bit of revenge there, OP. I just hope that Karen didn't go back into the store and give the cashier an even worse time. Like, sometimes it happens. Stores get busy and you need a little patience. And Karen's getting thrown into the mix just really don't help that. And here's the next one by user/MyOpinionStinks. I'm at the Omax buying an office chair this afternoon. I've paid, I'm holding my receipt, waiting for the good fellow who rang me up to roll up my purchase. That fellow is wearing red. The guy at the next register is wearing red. The employees wear red. I'm wearing khakis and a dark grey polo. Casual Friday in this bee. And of course, we're masked up, right? So, a random guy walks up to me and asks if I sell stamps. I'm in recruiting and professional development, so I say, "No, I sell people." The look he gave was priceless. Huh? He thinks I'm in some trafficking ring at this point. I sell people to IT firms. It clicks. He was chill, apologizes, hangs his head, and shuffles off to someone wearing a name tag. Not as glorious as other stories, but it was fun, and I have no friends to talk to. Cheers, and have a good weekend. Wow, that's probably the best reply I've ever heard from this sub. If you work in recruiting, this is totally a go-to. So what do you do for a living? I sell people. Blank, shocked stares all around. That is just a perfect reply. I can't wait to either suggest that to someone or just use it myself as some weird joke. That would be a very, very funny one. And here's the next post by user/GingerDaisy03. So, I worked for a home care agency and was assigned to an independent living facility. Mostly just med reminders and housekeeping. The company I worked for was shady AF. So much happened, I'm surprised I stayed as long as I did. But I'll stick to what's relevant here. This may be long. So, Cliff's Notes, they cut my hours on the days and evenings to the point I lost my benefits. I took the full-time nights posting. It was just me and one other girl, switching off 12-hour nights, 4 days one week, 3 the next. 11 PM to 11 AM. It was great, and I loved it. Work was easy, and I still got to see my residents. I usually got there at 10:30 PM to get the report from the evening worker so she could leave by 11. My duties all night were get report, sign out keys, organise that day's paperwork, set the dining room for the next day, do like 4 people's laundry, had access to 5 washers and 5 dryers, and do room checks on like 10 people every 2 hours. Pop my head in, make sure they weren't on the floor, and answer any emergency pages. Everything but checks and pages were done by 3 AM and sometimes 2 AM. Well, they hired a guy and decided to give him 2 of my shifts and 2 of the other girls' shifts. I was in charge of training him and had to sign off before he worked independently. I wasn't impressed, but said fine. First shift, he shows up at 4 AM. The shift starts at 11. Work's done now, go home. Next shift, 7 AM, he comes in, same thing. Next 2 were no-shows. Then, when he finally showed up, he was awful. I started looking for another job and found one quickly. I tried for 4 days to hand in my 2 weeks resignation. Supervisor isn't available, office is locked, on a Tuesday at 10 AM. So I dropped it in their mailbox, and when they called me, I told them the date stated would be my last day. Fast forward 2 weeks, I get a call to go in. I explain I quit, why I quit, and that I don't work for the company anymore. I repeat this sporadically over the next 2.5 years. I got called at all hours. I called the area coordinator, the regional coordinator, always being assured it won't happen again. My final straw was a 4 AM phone call 3 years after I quit from the after-hours scheduler. I lost my ish. Called corporate and made them delete my number and file, and told them, I haven't worked for you for 3 effing years. The lack of having any schedule should have been an effing clue. Your company calls me again and I'll file harassment charges. Figure your stuff out and stop calling me. I don't work for you. And hung up. Been a year now, and I think it's finally worked. Yeah, look, OP, I reckon you could have solved that problem if you'd started with harassment. But seriously, who calls an employee 3 years after they've left to ask, hey, can you work a shift? Like, I mean, that's either an act of desperation or an act of complete stupidity. Like, hey, I'm just randomly free for 12 hours tomorrow night. Yeah, cool, I can do a shift. Oh well, at least you seem to have it sorted out now, OP. That makes your life a whole lot better, and I'm hoping you're enjoying your new place. And here's the next one by user/no refuge for degenerates. I stopped at the supermarket to pick up a dish sponge and a half-gallon of milk. Ended up doing a full grocery shopping. Excited at the prospect of going home with one less task pending and more time to play trove with my son, I walk my full cart of food to my truck. This is where the I don't work here lady mess begins. The parking lot is fair size for this supermarket. I drive a Ford F-150, and because it's raised, I find it easier to park towards the back of the lot, so I can avoid the risk of not seeing someone walk behind the truck or park in my blind spot. About halfway through the parking lot, a man, maybe in his early 50s, begins calling out to someone, and I don't pay it any attention since I'm on the phone with a relative. The phone call was short, and I hung up with my relative a few seconds before reaching my truck. I then get my shoulder grabbed and pulled by the same dude who was making noise at the front of a parking lot. The cast are me, entitled mediocre prick, and the supermarket employee. What the F? Don't touch me, dude. Didn't you hear me? You need to take my cart back. What? No, I don't. Walk it back yourself. Just do your job, you lazy bee. You kids don't know how to work. Come on, go do what you're supposed to. At this point, he grabs my arm and tries to budge me. I'm 5'10" and 200 pounds. A prominent aspect of my job is lifting heavy items. You will not budge me if I don't want to move. I told you, don't touch me. Also, I do not work here. I'm not wearing a uniform. I have no work badge. I'm trying to put the groceries I bought back into my vehicle. Leave me the F alone. I wrenched his hand off me and was so mad that instead of punching him, I turned away and slammed my cart into my truck so I could finally leave this butthole orbit. How dare you effing touch me? And you just scratched that truck. I'm gonna get you fired and arrested for being a bad employee. Now the supermarket employee, a young man who picks up the shopping carts, jogs over to see what's up, and is treated to witnessing me trying to get my groceries in my truck, and the butthole grabbing my bags and slamming them on the ground. At this point, I'm all sorts of done, and ask the kid to call the manager and the cops and to pull up camera footage. I'm gonna need it. Supermarket employee is like a deer in headlights, but sets off to get help. Entitled mediocre prick is now trying to keep me from getting in my truck, because he's a butthole. The whole time, he's screaming at the top of his lungs about how I'll be fired and arrested. Supermarket employee came back, manager unavailable, great. I asked the supermarket employee to stay back since the entitled mediocre prick is unhinged and used a small spray bottle of outdoor bleach mixture I keep in my purse to sanitize my work gear when I remove this. I sprayed it in the entitled mediocre prick's eyes, and that got him to budge. I then sat on the guy, and I guess all that was enough for the manager to show up when the supermarket employee went back a second time to get him. The security guard was very quiet when he restrained the EMP while we waited for police. The manager apologized and asked for my receipt so they could replace my groceries, and then showed the cops their footage of the mess when they arrived. Turns out, entitled mediocre prick has a history of assault against women. Shocking, I know. And an attempted kidnapping last year. The supermarket employee theorized that EMP may have been trying to get me closer to his car, since the cart drop-off was 2 cars away from him. I'm pressing charges, and the supermarket is gonna have to switch security companies. Where the F was the parking lot security guy? Chatting up teenage girls on the other side of a parking lot. I'm so mad because it could have gone way worse for me or another woman. Yep, this dude clearly chose to mess with the wrong person, and looks like it's cost him dearly. I mean, this dude, he totally deserves this. And nice work, OP, for not getting pushed around. Who knows, maybe the guy was just straight crazy, maybe he wanted to harm you. Best we don't find out, and move on to this next one by user/wiggle it loose. Now, this story is absolutely amazing, but I've left it to the end because I've seen a lot of other channels covering it. So don't be surprised if it seems familiar, and that's why I've moved it towards the end, because chances are you've seen it before. I'm telling you about one event, but I must have a retail face, because I'm approached so often. I wear a suit to work. When I call in at any shop on the way home, I leave my jacket in the car, so I'm just wearing a shirt and tie. I couldn't tell you how many times people assume I'm staff. If they're civil, I'm civil. If they're struggling, I'm helpful. If they're rude, I have fun. The reason I remember this one is because I've said all these things separately before, but this was the first time I got them all squeezed into one single interaction. It just went so perfectly. It'll never happen again. I'd called into a large supermarket to pick up birthday candles. I first saw a woman being very rude to another customer for no apparent reason. Imagine Rush Limbaugh in drag. Sorry to put that in your head. She was just very impatient, and the other customer wasn't moving fast enough for her liking, so she was insulting her. She definitely ranked above butthole, so let's call her Douchbagette, or DB for short. As she turned, I saw the missile lock in her eyes as she spotted me. She galumped her way over. I decided to enjoy it and settled on being deadpan literal as a plan. I looked away. Now, before we get into this text, let's just say that if someone is already insulting someone else for no apparent reason, this is gonna be good. Excuse me? Why, what have you done? What? She paused for a second, looking like a dog that had been shown a card trick. Then angrily asked, "Can you help me?" I couldn't possibly know. I don't know what you want. She makes a Tucker Carlson face.
Where do you keep your eyelash curlers?
I don't keep them anywhere.
Yes, you do. I've seen them before.
I'm certain I don't. I've never owned any. My eyelashes manage to bend all on their own. I'm more than happy with the bendiness of my eyelashes.
Huh? What? No, idiot. I'm in the shop. We're in the shop of the eyelash curlers.
I haven't got a clue.
Why not?
I refer you to my previous answer. I never use them.
Ah, are you trying to be stupid?
No, it's effortless.
This is insane. Are you going to find out where the eyelash curlers are, or would you prefer that I speak to your manager?
I'd say neither, but if I had to choose, I'd prefer option B.
What? You want me to speak to your manager?
No. She shakes her head in angry confusion and says,
You just said you did.
No, I didn't. You asked me which I'd prefer. If I was offered a rectal exam or a slap in the face, I don't want either, but I'd prefer the second to the first. See how it works? This is a phrase I use with my wife when she gives me bad alternatives. She stood in silence for a few seconds with her mouth open and the deepest frown. She then built up to a shout with,
This is ridiculous!
I completely agree.
Where is your manager?
I'm not exactly sure, but my guess would be at home with his family.
Ah, you're being stupid. Who supervises you here in the store right now?
She actually stamped her foot twice, then shouted, right now. Nobody?
What? Why not?
Because I don't need to be supervised. I haven't needed supervision in a shop since I was about 9 years old.
Oh my god, it's like talking to a wall.
I could see that her shouting had attracted a member of management. She was approaching quickly.
Why aren't you helping me?
Why would I? I think I saw a slight hint of understanding spread across her puzzled face.
You do work here, don't you?
No.
Why didn't you effing say so?
You didn't ask me, until now. The manager arrived just as Douchebagette shouted into my face.
You're an effing moron!
Manager to Douchebagette. Madam, please lower your voice and stop swearing. There are children in the store. And then the manager to me. What's happening, sir? I'm not really sure. This woman was being rude to another customer. Then she approached me and started to interrogate me about personal grooming habits. She wasn't happy with my answers and started to spit shout at me.
No, that's not effing true. I was shouting because I thought he worked here.
Whether he was an employee or not, you can't talk like that. You can't abuse customers, and we have a strict policy about abuse towards staff. We don't tolerate it.
It's not my fault. He's an idiot. If he had...
She was interrupted by the manager. Please stop shouting. The manager pressed transmit on her radio and said, Security, urgent, code 4, hull 14. The manager to me, are you okay, sir? Yes, I'm fine. I just needed birthday candles. Could you tell me where they are?
What the hell is going...
Manager to the Douchebagette. Stop shouting. Stop swearing. I have to warn you again, you'll have to leave the store. And then to me, they're on aisle 22. Okay, thank you. I started to walk away. Meanwhile, DB was still shouting. 2 security staff turned the corner and passed me on their way to DB. I could hear her shouting for another 30 seconds. The next time I saw Douchebagette, I was standing at the self-checkout. She was being followed out of the store by the security staff. She was complaining into her phone, loudly but unclearly, about the shop, the staff, and some effing moron. As she left, empty-handed. Do you think that moron was me? I was wishing so hard for her to look left and see me, but she didn't. If she had shouted at me, regardless of what she said, I was going to raise my little box of candles and say, yes thanks, I found them. The whole thing was so funny, I almost broke and nearly started laughing when she stamped her foot in time with right now. I've been mistaken for staff dozens of times, but never had it gone so perfectly. Probably never will. Don't expect a sequel. Wow, what gets me with this one is that this woman thought that yelling like that would be okay if this had been an employee. Like, come on, if you're in a store, you use your inside voice. There is no need to yell. Now that I think of it, I've probably yelled in stores before, so I'm not sure. Maybe that was a hypocritical thing of me to say. But my point still stands. Don't yell at employees, don't yell at other people in the store. Just talk at a normal level and you'll avoid all trouble. Also, I think I've actually kinda lost my voice yelling in this entitled parent voice. So it's off to recover for me, which is perfect because I think this story will be the last one for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel for Reddit videos 3 times every single week. But with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and all I want to do is see you all here next time. See you later, guys.